Guys, we're back. This is week number 3 of 8 of the parking lot championships, as some people call it. And I'm going to point out a few key characters of this race. Here we go. First up, Cameron. I'm going to just show a little conversation Cameron and I had before the race.
Who knows? Who knows what these old legs will do?
That dude is playing pretty coy. We got Stash Power. If you watched my last video, me and him have some beef. The beef still exists. The beef has not been squashed. Then, birds, guys, the birds. Here you got Ben and Noah. They're both laughing. They're giggling. Probably talking about how they're going to destroy men twice their age today. Then you got Zach here. We got a few St. Al's riders. He's one of them, sticking his tongue out. He becomes a huge pest today. And then Talon, also St. Al's rider. He factors into this race as well. And last but certainly not least, we have Brian, Bob's Bikes. He is just putting in monster digs all day. We are less than 10 minutes in, and what happens? Cameron takes a huge flyer off the front, and it seems like everybody's chasing it down, and it's going to come together, but watch this. The order is Cameron, Noah Bird, Ben Bird, Stash Power, and then another bird. What happens is Ben realizes that Noah's on his wheel, and he just lets up just a little bit and lets that gap open up. Super smart move by Ben's part, not great for the rest of us. These birds have been specifically trained to follow wheels, and they're really good at it. They all slow up, Stash Power ends up on the front, and Stash Power is not about to drag everybody up to that break. A few moments later, you see here on the left, Talon goes, and what do the birds do? They follow that free ride up to the break. Let's see how it goes. Talon's dragging everybody up there. He doesn't care. He wants to get in that break. And as we come around this side of the course, once again, the birds kind of just ease up. Talon ends up getting across. And so in the break, we have Cameron, St. Al's Talon, and Bird Noah. So that's fairly threatening. Check out this rear cam. Going into the headwind section, people kind of stagger off to the side to get the best draft. Brandon and Chris get a little tangled here. Chris actually hooks Brandon's hand with his bars. Luckily, Brandon was smart enough to just let go, and they both stayed upright. Congratulations, that could have been really bad. A bit later, a few people have tried to bridge across and it wasn't working. They were gaining a big gap, so I decided to go and just drop a huge bomb, and this was a mistake, straight up. Stash Power grabs my wheel, and he doesn't quite have it, and if he was going to get a ride, I wanted to make it really hard. Kelsey right here on the right, he had just tried to bridge up, didn't quite make it, unfortunately. If you've watched my videos before, you know that this race always seems to end in a break, and so I get so sick of it. So this is really just my ego trying to chase this back down. Didn't want to just sprint for a field sprint finish. Stash Power is on my wheel. We have a little bit of a gap. Let's see what he has to say. Stash Power, I appreciate that, but you conveniently mentioned it right as we were going into the headwind. And my legs are pretty cooked at this point. If he would have come through, pushed the pace a little bit more, we probably would have maintained the gap, maybe bridged up. But if you look behind us, we have a few others that were able to bridge up to us. A half lap later, Ben there on the left, he goes and he takes a passenger with him. Bird Ben. And that is pretty threatening. Both of those guys have dropped me in a gravel race. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. Super strong. They launch and they get a gap really quick. All right, let's talk race tactics for a bit. We got Brian, we got Stash Power, we got myself. None of us have teammates in this race, so we are all motivated to bridge up to the break. But look behind us. We have Zach, freaking Zach. He has teammate Talon up the road, and then behind Zach, we got 3 or 4 birds. They have Noah and now Ben up the road. And so those guys are not gonna be motivated to help us bridge up. Look right here. Stash Power takes a pull. Zach moves up and gets behind me. Brian didn't have a spot to slot in, and so now the rotation of Stash Power, Brian, and I is already screwed up. You know what else is screwed up? Stash power, watch this. We go into the headwind section. What does he do? What? That was an elbow flick, bro. He flicks me through right before we hit the headwind section. Stash power, yeah, he's getting to the front. He's doing a little bit of work, but none of the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting happens right here in the headwind section. Appreciate the pull, bro, but how about you pull in the headwind? That's why the beef continues, guys. Going back to Zach being an absolute pest, watch this. He's behind Brian's second wheel. He just lets that gap open up and forces Stash power to bridge it. That's the type of stuff that's just screwing up this rotation in order for us to bridge up. Stash power once again on the front, going into the headwind section. Let's see what happens. Elbow flick.
Come on, bro. You need the headwind?
The headwind on this course obviously always varies, but today was fairly considerable right down the start finish. That sucker Zach does it again. He's right behind Brian. He pulls off, makes Stash power make that bridge into the headwind. Pretty smart tactics, if I do say so myself, but very frustrating. Once again, Zach in the rear cam. I'm on the front. Going into the headwind, what does he do? He just pulls off. And like I say, Brian and Stash power, they're the only other two that are really motivated to get anything done. They have to go around it, bridge it up. Brian would get on the front and just put in these monster pulls. He was a hero, but guys, spoiler alert, it doesn't come back. It's about this time I realized it's not coming back. There's no use getting on the front, wasting this energy, when at this point, the race is for 5th place. We got Cameron, we got Bird Noah, Bird Ben, and Talon of St. Al's up the road, and the rest of us here. I think at this point we had maybe 5 or 6 laps left. I pull off and just start going backwards. Time to sit in, time to recover, see what I can do in the field sprint. All right, last lap here. We're going into the start-finish straight. Stash power's on the front. He actually stands up, does a little effort. I think he's just trying to draw some of these birds out. Try to get someone to come around him so he's sprinting around them at the end. Fairly good idea. Let's see how it goes. I'm just gonna play it through this last lap, talk through it. So I drop back, I'm like 6th wheel, going through these last little S curves. And at this point I realize I better do something if I'm gonna try to win this field sprint. Right here, this is my favorite spot to move up. You got the tailwind, and the spot right here on the right is usually open. So I take it here. We're going into the last big turn. And once again, guys, pay attention to the wind. I come around here and I slingshot around these fools. And these guys are protecting me from the wind all the way up until about this point right here. But by then, I already have the speed that I need just to carry me to the finish. I don't even have to stand up. I look back, see that I got a decent gap, cross the finish line for 5th. Yeah, guys, it's a field sprint for 5th, so that makes me feel like this guy. Still had fun. If you're wondering, yes, guys, still beefing with St. Al's, still beefing with Birds, definitely still beefing with Stash power. The crit beef continues. Quick update on the broski. He's been racing the Cat 5 race. This is his 3rd week ever racing. First couple weeks getting dropped, coming in for the field sprint right here. Stoked for him.